Hey everybody, I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us for ILTV's weekly program One-on-One with Alan Dershowitz. We want to give you, our viewers, a chance to have your questions answered by Professor Dershowitz, one of America's greatest legal minds. He's a leading expert on criminal and constitutional law, civil liberties, and the Arab-Israeli conflict. Today we have a special edition of the show where we recapture the finest moments and commentary, bringing you the best of One-on-One with Alan Dershowitz. Many leaders and great thinkers have joined the show to talk about peace, politics, and innovation, and we've selected a special few for this edition of the show. You'll hear the professor's insight on the U.S. Embassy move from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which Trump is expected to delay, Alan's thoughts on the peace process, U.S.-Israeli relations, and about an Israeli creation that Alan is definitely excited to talk about. So, let's begin. During your recent visit to Israel, you had dinner with the iconic mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, and you discussed a lot of issues, some very private and some dealing with the most important issues affecting America, Israel, and of course, New York City. Let's hear a little sample from your dinner conversation.
I'm here with my buddy Alan Dershowitz. We just had a wonderful meal, and I want to ask him a question.
Well, first, tell us what your opinion is.
Well, first of all, I'll tell you my opinion. My opinion has been, since the time the legislation was passed back in the 90s, that the American embassy should be in Jerusalem. But I want to ask Alan what his opinion is and what the implications of that would be.
So why don't you ask him directly?
Alan?
Well, I think the embassy of the United States should be in West Jerusalem, but I think it has to happen in stages. I think first the United States ought to announce that it rejects the Security Council resolution that implied that the Jewish quarter of Jerusalem and the Western Wall are not part of Israel. Second, I think the United States ought to negotiate with its allies, the Saudis, the Egyptians, the Jordanians, the Emirates, and get them to agree that putting the embassy in West Jerusalem doesn't pose any problems for Islam, and there's no reason why there should be any objection to it, because of course West Jerusalem is and has been the capital of Israel since 1948.
Mayor?
Sounds like a very rational, sensible approach to what is a difficult problem. Being impulsive, had I been president, I probably would have done it immediately without all the wisdom of Alan Dershowitz. But if I had been smart enough to call him, I would have followed exactly the program that he outlined.
So now a more important question. Yankees or Red Sox?
Yankees.
You know, when I found out that Rudy Giuliani was a kid from Brooklyn who rooted for the Yankees, I knew he'd end up being a prosecutor. Dodger fans became defense attorneys, Yankee fans became prosecutors.
Mr. Mayor?
I think they're still behind us by how many World Championships? Let's see, about 24?
To one. But that one, 1955, made my decade.
Can I see a piece, between the two?
Yeah,
of
we
them?
can make peace.
We can make.
We can have
Okay.
The Dodgers no longer.
Yeah, we can make peace.
Yes, so if a Red Sox and a Yankee fan can make peace,
Anybody,
The
look, come on.
Israelis, the Palestinians.
Maybe you and I should do the resolution. Then we'll tell them what to do.
That would be good.
okay, thank you.
So first of all, before we discuss this baseball revelation that you guys made while you were over there, I'd like to hear, is there anything else that you'd like to say about the U.S. Embassy moving to Jerusalem, especially given Trump's recent comments about not wanting to move forward with that move immediately?
Well, I think ultimately the American embassy should be in West Jerusalem, and Jerusalem should be a united city. I think we need to talk to our allies. The United States needs to talk to the Saudis, the Emirates. An example of what happens when you don't talk and you just issue a program immediately was President Trump's ill-advised restriction on immigration, which was done too broadly and too quickly. I hope he's learned a lesson and will now, before he makes important decisions like the decision about moving the embassy, will coordinate with allies, with the State Department, with the Israeli government. In the end, I would hope that before long, the embassy could be located in West Jerusalem.
A special counsel has been appointed to lead a probe into U.S. President Donald Trump's ties to Russia, and that's all coming on the heels of the American leader leaking top-secret Israeli intelligence to the Russians. So our question for you is, how will this impact his upcoming visit to Israel? How will this news impact Israeli and American intelligence cooperation in the future? Are we going to be seeing a change of any sort?
Well, we're seeing a somewhat weakened president. He already tweeted this recently, saying this is the worst witch hunt against any American president. The appointment of a special counsel is not going to solve the problem. Remember, the special counsel only has jurisdiction to look into crimes. And even if there was close coordination between the campaign of Donald Trump and the Russians, there's nothing criminal about that. And even if he did leak information to the Russians, which could have led the Russians to identify the sources and methods used by Israel, there's nothing criminal about that. And even if he fired the FBI for bad motives, there's nothing criminal about that. And even if he asked the FBI director to let it go on his national security advisor, there's nothing criminal about that.
What needs to happen on all sides to move forward with the peace process?
Progress toward peace between Israel and the Palestinians has enormous strategic advantages for Israel, not only its relations with the Palestinians, who don't really pose currently a strategic threat, but with the Saudis and the Emirates and the Sunni Arab world, which is terrified about the Shia arc that General Yadlin previously described, and particularly now with Saudi Arabia becoming a military superpower as a result of the $100 billion arms deal with the United States, the interests of Israel in creating a strategic alliance with Saudi Arabia against Iran, Syria, Hezbollah is more important than ever. So I would very much encourage the Israeli government to make political compromises, political sacrifices, in order to achieve a strategically advantageous benefit of moving toward peace and moving toward a deal with the Palestinians. Also, Donald Trump wants a deal. He wants to be the guy who brought about a deal. And it's in Israel's interest, if it's possible within their security concerns, to allow that to happen. We certainly don't want to see Donald Trump turn into somebody who blames Israel for the failure of the peace process, because he's been persuaded, rightly or wrongly, that Abbas at this point is willing to sit down and negotiate.
Let's turn now to a question from Frank Cesno, an award-winning American journalist and former CNN correspondent and anchor. He currently serves as director of the School of Media and Public Affairs at George Washington University. Now, let's hear how his interaction with you went.
So, Alan Dershowitz, here you are at the AIPAC conference. We've got a new administration in town. The administration's already sent signals that Israel should slow down on the settlements, uncertain prospects for peace, and the world is not on Israel's side on the issue of settlements. What does it need to do to be on track here?
The Israelis have to be statesmen rather than politicians, and they have to stop settlement growth at this point, certainly settlement growth outside of the settlement blocks that will remain part of Israel as in any deal. The settlement blocks that are now part of Israel that will be exchanged for other land are not barriers to peace in any way. But the external settlements, the settlements that are A, unlawful, or B, outside of the settlement blocks, outside of the security zone, they should stop, and they should not just slow down, they should stop.
They should stop, but that doesn't stop other settlements. So you're not saying stop settlements, as many do.
I'm saying stop settlements. I'm not saying stop all settlement building within existing settlements. That really is not a barrier to peace. But I think stopping all settlements, new settlement growth that takes new land, that seems to me to be something that ought to stop.
And if Israel did that, what could it or should it expect in return?
It should expect the Palestinians to come to the negotiating table.
Is there any reason to believe that would happen?
Yes, I think Abbas has said that he really wants to make a deal. The president wants to make a deal. The Israelis want to make a deal. We got to get them around the table. And I think stopping settlement growth outside of the existing settlements would do that. Now, once before, Israel tried that. They stopped virtually all settlements for 9 months, and the Palestinians didn't come to the table. But I think they're ready to come to the table now, but they have to show that.
Let's say they did that. Let's say they came to the table. Is there any reason to believe the Trump administration is going to have any more success than the Obama administration or the Bush administration or the Clinton administration in getting peace?
Well, certainly more than the Obama administration. Dennis Ross proved that when the United States really has Israel's back, Israel is much more willing to make compromises for peace. The Israelis did not believe that Obama had their back. Bush and Clinton are different. And of course, during the Bush administration, Omar offered them an incredible deal that they turned down. During the Clinton administration, Clinton and Barack offered them an incredible deal that they turned down. So I do think that the have your back theory does work.
We'll see. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joining us now in the studio is Dr. Mordechai Kedar, who served for 25 years in the IDF military intelligence and is an expert on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Two-state solution, one-state solution. The options for reaching a peace deal often seem limited, but Dr. Kedar has another solution that he wants to talk about.
Sure. Good morning, Alan. How are you?
Hi.
Look, since nobody, and you will agree with me, nobody can assure that a Palestinian state will never become another Hamastan, either by elections, as happened in 2006, or by coup d'etat, as already happened in 2007 in Gaza, I came out with a new paradigm to think about the Middle East through the real sociology of the Middle East, which talks about tribalism, which in the Middle East is not only alive and kicking, it is alive and killing, as you know, as we see today, already for 6 years. Therefore, in order to achieve some kind of stability, we have to establish 8 Palestinian Emirates. One already exists in Gaza, led by Hamas. Another one should be in Hebron, for the clans of Hebron. Another one in Jericho, for the clans of the Arikat clan of Jericho. Another one in Ramallah, for the clans of Ramallah. Just like Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Kuwait, which every one of them is stable and rich, not because of the oil, but because of the stability, social stability. And this paradigm, I came out, there is a website which I established with this, with a friend from Florida, www.palestinianemirates.com, because states, modern states like Syria, Iraq, Libya, Sudan, Yemen, are failing states because they were built by European ideas, while only Middle Eastern ideas like tribalism can survive, as we see very clearly in the Gulf. And this is the only way how to go forward, which will give Palestinians, most of the Palestinians in the West Bank, freedom from Israel, those who sit in the cities, while will give Israel security. They can have flourishing emirates in the cities. What would you say about this?
Well, it's a very interesting idea, but I think you're addressing it to the wrong audience. I think you have to address it essentially to the Palestinians and see whether they would accept this kind of solution. Many radicals will just describe it as Bantustans in a very negative way.
Well, I'm talking about emirates, not Bantustans.
I understand that, but language is everything. You call it an emirate, they call it a Bantustan, and they. The question is, who makes the decision? It would be, I think, an interesting thing to do. You're absolutely right. The trend in the world today is breaking up countries rather than uniting them.
Look, what happened with the Soviet Union, this is what happened with Yugoslavia after a bloody war in the 90s. And this is what happened with Czechoslovakia.
Well, I agree with you. I've always said a good divorce is better than a bad marriage. Right. And breaking up countries into their component parts. The 19th century, we saw countries united. Italy was a series of city-states and regions, and then it got united. Germany, many other countries of Europe started out as equivalent to emirates and clannish. Now in the Middle East, it's even more serious. So, your solution is an interesting one, worthy of being considered. But if Israel imposes the solution, it will be seen as a colonial, imperialistic imposition of Bantustans on what is a united entity. So I think that what you have to do is try to persuade the Palestinians that it's in their best interest. The other possibility, of course, is a compromise, and that is to have the emirate situation and then to create some kind of an informal federation. But that's something, again, that the Palestinians would probably have to decide for themselves. In the 21st century, generally, we do not look positively on powerful states telling less powerful people how to organize themselves. But I think you ought to continue to try to advocate this within the Palestinian groups and areas.
Well,
and
I sit with them. I sit with them much, and they agree.
Very
because
successful, and it could include, for example, areas within Israel. If you take the Arab-Israeli areas around the Afula Triangle and other places, they might indeed want to, on self-determination, declare themselves to be a unit within Israel, subject to the protection of Israel. I think some of the issues that will arise, of course, is police forces, demilitarization, passage, security. These are all complicated, but look, keep thinking. It's so important to keep thinking about these issues. We shouldn't be stuck on one formulation. I would like to go to your website and continue to read about it. I'm still a reluctant advocate of the old two-state solution, but I recognize its problems, particularly with Gaza not being part of the two-state solution, with problems occurring in Jordan, with ISIS coming closer to the borders of Israel, with Syria in disarray. These are all very serious issues, and I think any creative solutions and suggestions of the kind that you've put forward have to be given very serious consideration.
An incredible Israeli startup called WaterGen that you have been heavily involved in, Professor Dershowitz, is about to change our planet. Let's take a look at an interview I recently had with the company's executive chairman, Maxim Pasik. Let's hear about this. What does WaterGen technology do? This sounds incredible.
Yes, it's really it is. It's like a kind of miracles. So WaterGen created a revolutionary technology that can take the air that all of us breathe and convert it to the clean drinking water. So we have the patented technology that with very small amount of the electricity of the consumption, we can convert the air to the water. So actually we have small, medium and big devices that can make from 15 liters of water per day for houses, for the offices, for the hospitals, till hundreds of thousands of liters per day of clean drinking water. So
this is incredible.
It's really incredible because this is the most important problem of the world. By 2025, 2/3 of the world will have shortage of clean drinking water, and billions of people are suffering from this. Most of the diseases are coming from the
lack of clean water.
From lack of clean water. So actually, our vision is to solve this kind of crisis. We have created the special technology that is good from the small village, for the household, and to entire.
Now, every time I hear about this technology, I just can't believe that it's real. It's just so incredible. Now, Professor, you ran into Maxim at the recent Jerusalem Post conference in New York.
Yes.
Let's hear what the two of you had to say to one another.
Professor Dershowitz, you represented in the last APAC event WaterGen. So how do you think this company can improve the Israel or worldwide?
Well, thank you very much. It was great being able to show the people of APAC how this amazing product works. It basically takes water out of the air. It sounds like it's magic, but it will help solve the water problems all over the world. And it's part of Israel's worldwide reputation as startup nation. If Israel can help give water to the world, to parts of the world that have no water today, and do it inexpensively and do it effectively, it will boost Israel's image. When people say boycott Israel, they don't realize there are so many products that the world can't do without. And WaterGen is one of those products that if you sell it to countries all over the world and help people who would otherwise
not be able to get water, it will be amazing. It will be part of Israel's contribution to the world. Look, no country in history in the first 69 years of its existence has ever contributed so much to the world as Israel. And WaterGen, this ability to create water out of air and create a little machine that can bring water to the home, water to big houses, water to whole cities, is just an amazing innovation, so typical of Israel and so typical of what immigrants like you who came from the Ukraine, people who came from the former Soviet Union have brought to Israel and brought to the world. So congratulations for helping Israel maintain and increase its reputation as startup nation to the world.
Professor Dershowitz, I have another question to you.
Sure.
Do you think this kind of technology and our products can improve our relations with the Muslim world?
Without a doubt, they can, because many parts of the Muslim world are without water. Take, for example, the Gaza Strip today, which is on the ocean, on the sea, but nonetheless has a serious water problem, as does the West Bank. And so when an Israeli company can take water out of the air and bring it to the homes of people to drink, you know, there are Muslims who will say, well, we still don't like Israel, we don't like Zionism, but when you use Israeli products and they help feed your family, it can't help but create better relations between Jews, Muslims, Jews, Christians, Jews, Buddhists, Jews, you name it, anywhere in the world that you can help provide water will help relations between the nation state of the Jewish people and the people of the world.
Thank you very much, Professor Dershowitz.
Thank you.
Professor Dershowitz, is there anything that you want to add to what you said there?
Well, you know, I just am so marveling at this. What Israel does is it turns science fiction into life-saving reality. And I am so proud of Israel. I'm so proud of every Israeli company that does this. And the great book, Startup Nation, which was given as gifts to all the students who graduated the Harvard Business School several years ago, really projects the most positive aspects of Israel's life. And as I've said before, the best answer to BDS, which is a bigoted, anti-Semitic, anti-peace program, the best answer to boycotts is for Israel to make products that the world can't do without. I think about Stephen Hawking, who supports BDS, but who uses Israeli technology to help him speak and help him communicate. That's such hypocrisy. Barghouti, who founded BDS, wants to boycott Tel Aviv University, but he didn't want to boycott it when he was getting his PhD there. And I think what Israel does, providing these life-saving technologies and great technologies to the world, exposes the hypocrisy of BDS and brings a very, very deserved positive image of Israel to the world.
Israeli Minister of Education Naftali Bennett, who is a member of Israel's ruling coalition government. Let's hear what he had to ask.
It's no secret that Alan Dershowitz is a Jewish hero, and I'm very curious to ask you, what are the one or two things that make you most proud about Israel?
First of all, the fact that Israel was established in my lifetime. I saw it established. I watched it on
How old were you?
10 years old.
Oh my God.
I saw Avi Eben, and
1948.
For me, it was such a thrill.
And I'm getting goosebumps.
To see Israel established, and then no country in the history of the world has contributed more than Israel in the first 69 years of its existence. Talk about a light unto the nations. What Israel has given to the world, medical technology, scientific technology. Now we're going to see space technology. They're going to be the first guys on the moon. Right. They're going to create water out of air.
Right.
It's amazing. Second, no country in history faced with what Israel is faced with, externally and internally, has ever had a better record of human rights, more compliance with the rule of law, more concern for the rights of enemy civilians. So I'm so proud to be a Zionist and so proud to love Israel.
Well, we're proud to love you.
Thank you so much. Good, good.
That wraps up this edition of One-on-One with Alan Dershowitz. If you'd like Professor Dershowitz to answer your questions, go to iltv.tv or our Facebook page and submit them. We'll see you again next week.